Welcome to Sell Smarter, Sell Faster, a podcast dedicated to helping sales organizations grow. Each week, we discuss proven sales enablement strategies and real-life examples with experts and thought leaders from across industries. I'm your host, Dani Buckley, Vice President and General Manager at Lead G2, a sales performance agency. In this episode, we're talking about how to create a sales enablement strategy that is actually helpful for your sellers and the prospects they're interacting with on a daily basis. You'll hear us ask questions like, what kind of companies need sales enablement the most? How do you go about building a solid sales enablement strategy? And how do you measure the effectiveness of sales enablement content? Joining me to break it all down is Beth Osborne, Senior Content Marketing Manager at Marketron. Beth brings so many amazing points to the table, like how great sales enablement content makes the life of your sellers easier, why your sales enablement content should be developed for anyone who could be a prospect, not just your typical customers, and finally, how a sales enablement strategy should be more about building relationships than merely trying to influence a prospect. All right, I am so excited to jump in with you today, Beth. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Dani. Lovely to be here.
Yeah, we got some really good stuff to cover, and one of my favorite topics, content, sales enablement content. I know you're passionate about it too, so we're gonna have some fun. So just to get us started and everyone on the same page, tell us a little bit just about your role at Marketron and kind of your experience with sales enablement in general.
Sure. So I'm the Senior Content Marketing Manager at Marketron. So I'm basically the head of content. So I create the strategies and execute them. It's not just me though. We have a really great team that facilitates all of that as well. So like a day to day to me is working on a content calendar and seeing how our business goals are aligning with our content, or what things that we need to prioritize. What are our customers saying? Those kind of things that kind of inform all of that. I'm really, really passionate about sales enablement content, or kind of enablement content, I guess, in general. I've been in the SaaS world most of my career, and SaaS companies definitely focus a lot on enablement content, whomever, is the audience. This discussion we're having today is about sales. And it's definitely, it's a different type of sales and enablement content, which I'll probably go into later. But just kind of some examples from my previous life are that I worked for a content marketing software platform, so I wrote enablement content for people like me.
Yeah. Great. Well, good. So you've got a wealth of experience. You're the right person to have this conversation with. We already knew that. I did. So I always like to ask, just because everyone has different language they like to use, how would you define sales enablement? And then tell us like why it's important to an organization.
Sure. So kind of what I just alluded to is traditionally sales enablement content is content that sellers use as resources to influence buyers, in the buyer's journey kind of thing. So what I do is a little bit different. So I'm creating content for those who are sellers, and then they are doing the same thing. So it's a nuance, a little different.
Yeah.
To me, what it means to create sales and enablement content is that I'm delivering valuable information that solves a problem, inspires them, or gives them some clarity around a situation. It's about like, how does what we're creating make a local media seller's day easier or better, kind of thing. Salespeople have hard jobs.
Yeah.
They're also resilient, they're creative, they're persistent, and they have to be constant ideators because they're always going to have objections and barriers and all those kind of things. So they need trusted resources that are going to empower them, and that's really the foundation for Aspire, our sales enablement blog. We really conceived it to be that go-to resource for local media sellers, and that's exactly what it is. And I meet customers in kind of different ways. Like I do case studies a lot, and I talk to them, or go to events like the NAB conference that I attended a few weeks ago. And I really love to hear from them that content, inspired them or helped them overcome something, or even like, actually help them win a deal.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it really comes down to. Like, are we actually helping salespeople do their jobs better? I think that's like what it always comes back to. Okay. So tell us, what kind of companies do you think most need sales enablement content? Are certain that ones that you see need it more than others? Is it everybody? Like, what are some of the key problems that it's really solving?
Well, yeah, I think every organization needs it. SaaS specifically, as I kind of talked about, that's been my niche for quite a while. I think, it is helpful for any kind of organization that has a longer buying cycle, that has, multiple types of people making the decisions,
Hmm.
that it's, a complex kind of purchase. Sometimes software can be, sometimes not so much. I think it's any industry where you want to educate whoever your audience is, and, upskill them, make them experts, those kind of things. We always say that more informed customers are better customers for
Yeah.
sure. For the local media industry, which is what I do, we're focusing a lot on upskilling and helping them understand and become confident. Typically with digital advertising, because a lot of people are from the traditional of TV and radio, and digital is still a little like scary, and we don't know what's going to happen with it. But they need it. They need that information for sure. We also focus a lot on like real life scenarios, which I think any sales enablement content should, of like, what do you do when this happens?
Mm.
Or what is a way around this? Or what makes sense in this situation? Like, for example, we hear a lot from we heard a lot from our customers. Well, we don't know exactly what kind of digital ad mix to recommend to a customer. And we were like, okay, we can take that, and we took it and ran with it, and we created an interactive tool. So somebody can go to this interactive tool, they can choose from 8 different advertiser goals, and then we give them a mix recommendation of this much social or this much display or geofencing or whatever. So they can then be confident to go to their customer and say, I really think this is a good mix for you. So I think
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's all about those takeaways. It's all about, whatever somebody needs to be better at their job and understand things better. And for us specifically, and for any kind of SaaS company, really, or any company, sales enablement content can be a differentiator for you. It can be what your competitor's not doing.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And you just made me think of this while you're talking. It's kind of like, I mean, I've never put it in these words before, but like sales enablement is about enabling the salespeople so you actually can enable the prospect, right? It's really like if you're not, it's not just enabling the salespeople. It really is about, like you said, educating and answering the questions and all of that. And so that is the end goal, and it has to be
Mhm.
both of those. You have to enable
Yeah.
both of those people.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
so you
Absolutely.
you were starting to touch on this. So tell us a little bit about how does one go about kind of building a solid sales enablement content strategy? Like, what are some of the steps
Mhm.
maybe someone who's new to this should take to start thinking about what they need?
Yeah. So that was like the first thing I did in the decision to launch Aspire, was create this content strategy, and I love content strategies.
Me
I'm
too.
very excited. I could nerd out on them for hours probably. But this was a little bit different, because the main goal with Aspire is not promoting a product or a service or our brand or anything. So then you have to like dig into, well, what are our objectives of this? So our objectives are to empower, enable, upskill, give people great information and ideas. And so how does that connect to other things? So my content strategy has several different pieces in it that I would recommend for anybody creating one. So first, you really got to define who your audience is. So we have 3 different personas that we write to. So we had to, and I had to make a lot of assumptions about them in the beginning. Some of those were correct, some of them weren't, but that is, that's how things roll. There are
Yeah.
other parts of it that are more granular around like voice and tone. Like I even kind of define like words we use and words we don't use. For example, like we don't call sales people sales reps. We think that's kind of a little like old school. We call them sellers or sales professionals kind of thing. We
Yeah.
also typically call them like local media experts or things, things like that, rather than kind of an older term kind of thing. Then it has content clusters. So we have 4 different content clusters on Aspire. What do those mean? How will we convey the ideas under those? And then it has a part of it that every content strategy has is how does this content align to business goals?
Yeah.
So I was talking about, hey, we're not promoting our products, and this isn't bottom funnel content to get people to convert. So, how does that even contribute to revenue? Well, first of all, our content is not just for our customers, it's for anybody that could be a prospect or anybody that is a local media seller. So for our customers, it upskills them, gets them great ideas. I mean, a lot of our content is about like, here's a thing and here's how you pitch it. And here's some like great ideas. I did one yesterday about the auto industry and it's bouncing back. And here's some great ideas to take to your dealership customers. So with them, it enables them to sell more digital advertising, which does impact our revenue. And from
Yeah.
a prospect side, it's developing a relationship and rapport and trust and credibility of like, oh, these people really know what they're talking about. And that's a big part of Marketron's kind of brand promise is we're more than software. We have all these great resources that we want to provide you with so that you can do like the best at your job,
Yeah.
kind of thing. I think the other parts of the strategy are just kind of metrics, which we'll probably talk about later, like how do you know it's working and all that kind of stuff. And then like, how are you going to amplify it? How are you going to share it? What is it, how's it going to get to all these people that you want it to? But it's a strategy that I look at and refresh probably quarterly, more often if things kind of change or shift internally or externally. But definitely the key parts are who are your personas, what are your clusters, what are your voice and tone type of things, you know, how are you going to measure it? How are you going to amplify it? What does it mean to the business? And like another part is really just, you know, keeping keeping yourself accountable too. Like how much
Yeah.
content are you going to produce, and how are you going to do that? And do you have the workflows and all this kind of thing? So that's all part of the strategy too.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's great. For those that may not know, can you tell us just quickly what is a content cluster? I know what it is, but I
Yeah.
know some of our listeners might not realize what that is.
So a content cluster is like your umbrella of content. It's kind of like themes. I would
Yeah.
say themes. So ours are sales ideas, ad categories, creative, and trends and something. Sorry, trends. So
Yeah.
so those are bigger umbrellas, and then underneath them we have even like subheader type of things. But it keeps you connected to what does the audience need? What are your topics? So every month I'm making sure that I'm hitting all those clusters. Some
Yeah.
more than others on some months kind of thing. Some kind of belong in both clusters, but it also keeps consistency, I think, in content production when you have these themes.
Yep, yep, love that. And another important thing that we won't get into today, but for those just to note at home and is that often those clusters are something that you kind of are building your SEO strategy around too. And
Mhm.
things are linking back
Yeah.
and there's a lot more into that. But great. So you talked about effectiveness. How do we measure it? Right. There's a lot of different ways, and there's a lot of different goals people might have with sales enablement content. So what are some of the metrics that one might track?
Sure. Yeah. So I call them the metrics that matter.
Love it.
Kind of thing. So I do a monthly report, and I look at a lot of different things. A lot of it is SEO. it's like, okay, what is more my organic traffic? Is it increasing? Where is it going? How am I ranking for certain words? So there's like all that kind of stuff. Then there's stuff on engagement, and engagement is again like a big umbrella thing. So I'm looking at page views, visitors, page views per session, average engagement time. But then I'm also looking at engagement like on social channels or email or different ways that we've distributed content to see, oh, this is resonating or this isn't.
Yeah.
And then another big metric for us for Aspire is subscription. So we have a we ask you to subscribe, and then you get like a monthly email with like the top picks for Aspire kind of thing. So in 22, so Aspire launched in May of 21, and year over year in 22, page views went up by 63%, visitors 86%, subscribers 126%, page views per session by 57, and average engagement time by 165%.
Awesome. Those are great numbers. I love
Yeah.
it. And it speaks volumes so that our customers and our prospects are hungry for information. They're
Mhm.
hungry to be educated by you. And I think a lot of folks think, oh, well, there's enough stuff out there on my industry. There's enough things out there, or they just want to focus on their product or service. And it's like, no, but there isn't anything out there that you've written on that topic, right? And it makes a difference. Your own take on it. So
Mhm.
I love that. And so do you have any, I mean, you just shared some success numbers. Do you have any other success stories that you kind of seen where, I'm actually really curious, I'm kind of putting you on the spot with this a little bit more direct of a question, but where you've heard like salespeople really having like, wow, this really helped move the needle with this prospect or something like that.
Yeah. This is a why for me, of are the people that I'm creating stuff for, are they benefiting from it?
Yeah.
When I know that I've created something that's been of value, I get warm fuzzies for
Hmm.
sure.
Hmm.
So luckily, I've had quite a few experiences. So I mean, I'm not super customer facing, but like I said, I do a lot of case studies with people, and I get an opportunity to like interview them, and we're talking about a specific thing, but almost always they bring up Aspire and they tell me how it has helped them or whatever. So I was doing a case study like end of last year, and we had just done a webinar on recruitment advertising, and we had done an ebook and a lot of content because that was a big trend in 22, and a lot of revenue was being created from recruitment advertising. So I'm talking to this sales manager at a station, and we're not talking about recruitment advertising, but he was like, "I love that webinar y'all did, and that ebook." He was
I
like,
love that.
"We." He was like, "We used that, and we were able to close a big deal with a health system in our market." And then he was like, "And then we even used some of those tactics for our own recruiting at the station." And I was like, "Wow, that was really really cool." Also,
Yeah.
I talked about that I had just attended NAB, the National Association of Broadcasters conference, so that's our conference, and we sponsor something called the Small to Medium Radio Forum, and we have these round tables where we discuss different things, and I get to kind of listen in on that. And so I was having a conversation with a customer about just, it was just a light conversation at first, and they brought up Aspire again. And they talked a lot about some content that we had written about nonprofit pitching and prospecting, because that is actually a gold mine for people because nonprofits do have budgets for advertising. And the lady just told me like how much that it had reset her mind on,
Mm.
on that on that as a prospecting opportunity, and that that she just really really appreciated it, that it just stuff like that, just like I
Yeah.
said, it definitely makes me feel really good.
Yeah, that's great. And it really is, sometimes it's just that simple. It's a salesperson really getting that this helped the conversation move forward. And that is what it's about. And that is hard to measure, right? A lot of the times it is, we need just those like verbal stories and so I know it can be hard for many of us trying to track the effectiveness. Obviously there's all the metrics you talked about from like kind of a engagement and things like that, but really seeing like the ROI, like how did this impact the sale? It does, I think, involve having to have conversations with salespeople, with sales leaders at your organization and beyond and asking them questions, asking them, what piece of content are you really finding valuable? What do you wish we had? Or what, those things I think are really, really, is really effective to get that ROI stories, or if they're not there, to figure out why.
Yeah, definitely. And I also get a lot of feedback from our CDM team, which are their client development managers. They're digital gurus for our digital clients. And, they will pass on similar things to me. And we have like a whole like team chat where different things, and I kind of eavesdrop on that a bit to see what's coming. And we ask our customers what they want to
Yes.
hear
Yes.
about. We ask them what should we write about? What is bothering you? What is worrying you? Like a big thing right now is third-party cookies. Google is finally going to make good on removing those, and that's a concern for people in the advertising industry. So we've done a lot of content on it. We did our own. We have a very small little podcast, and we had a guest on she's an expert in the space, just to be like, here's the reality and the truth of this, and we want to get you the right information.
Yeah, that's great. I love it. Well, Beth, I know you and I could probably sit and talk about this stuff all day, but I'm going to wrap us up and tell me, is there anything that we haven't touched on that you just want to be sure our listeners hear about best practices, about strategy, anything that you can think of related to this that you just want to be sure that they take away today?
I want to just say for anybody that's in this space is one of the most important things is to have leadership buy-in.
Yeah.
And I did not necessarily have that in my early career where I had to prove the value every day.
Yeah.
But that's never been the case at Marketron. I knew from day one that I would have autonomy, that I would be able to take it and run with it. And like I said, it's part of our brand promise to like be more than software kind of thing. So that's a huge thing. The other thing again is it goes back to the strategy. Create one and stick to it, but refine it, and make it so that anybody could just walk in and be like, okay, I get it. I get what we're doing with content.
I like that. Yeah. Don't make it overly complicated. Really start small. Just start. I always tell people just start. You don't have to do everything at first. Just getting started. So great. Thank you so much, Beth. I so appreciate you and your time here. And be sure to connect with Beth if you'd like. You can find her contact information in the show notes along with mine. If you want to reach out, ask questions. And thanks for joining us today, everybody. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Sell Smarter, Sell Faster. And until then, happy selling. Thanks for joining us on Sell Smarter, Sell Faster. If you like what you hear, click that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Be sure to visit our website, sellsmartersellfaster.com, where you can find even more helpful sales enablement and inbound marketing content.